What is up, guys? Rick Cacus here, and today, with the launch of the base version of the Division 2 coming tomorrow, I wanted to go over a bunch of very helpful beginner tips. Essentially, these are things I discovered in the later levels of the game and went, I really wish I would have known this stuff sooner. So hopefully we can avoid that scenario with you guys with this video. Now, before we get started, I've got about 2 minutes of a mobile game sponsorship. I'm just playing. We don't do that here. Let's jump right into this. The first thing I want to go over is a really good skill. In fact, I would describe the best healing skill in the game right now, especially, running through level 1 to 30, is the Chem Launcher with the specific upgrade to heal you. Now, this is because it recharges extremely fast and it has multiple usages. You can actually shoot several rounds of Chem Launcher, and remember that you can utilize a skill very quickly just at your current location by double tapping it. So with the Chem Launcher, even though you can launch it across the map at allies, for example, you can also just double tap the skill and you'll drop a Chem Launcher pod essentially right at your feet and it will heal you. One drop will heal you a pretty consistent amount, basically get you back to full armor, and you can drop two, like one and then another one right away, and the more you drop, the greater the healing effect. So if you're really hurt, drop a few at once and then get your health back almost instantly. So you've got multiple usages of it, and it recharges extremely fast. It's what you want for healing, especially if you're playing solo. Alright, moving on from there, my next big tip: do not just do the main story missions. I feel like a lot of people are going to try to gun through the campaign, look for those story missions, and ignore some of the other things, but you really don't want to. First and foremost, those question marks around your map, do them. You're going to have stuff like public executions that you can stop. You're going to have supply drops that come in on the map. You're going to have convoys you can interrupt. And one of my favorites is that you're going to have enemy control points you can take over. Now, firstly, these all award a substantial amount of experience. Like, we're talking big chunks of your leveling process. And also, especially with control points, they can be extremely rewarding. Every time you take over a control point, you're going to unlock a supply room. That supply room is going to contain one chest specifically for a weapon, one chest for an armor piece, and one big chest usually containing one of both. That is more loot than you're going to get at the end of a main story mission, and it's doable in a fraction of the time. If you are ignoring these, you will not level up as fast and you won't kit up as fast. Like, honestly, these are some of the best ways to get loot in the game. But doing these will also help you complete my next tip: projects. Make sure you're doing projects when it comes to your settlements within the game. Every time you go to a different settlement, and actually with safe houses as well, they're going to have their own individual projects, but you're going to have access to these projects. And these projects are pretty simple to do. Most of them consist of 3 different things. Number 1, donating a certain type of resource, whether it be food or ceramics or whatever. Number 2, donating a certain gear piece, like donate 3 chest pieces, donate 3 pairs of gloves. And number 3, doing something, stopping a public execution, or refilling the supplies of a captured command zone, stuff like that. Here's the thing though, you're gonna do all of this stuff just by playing the game, especially if you follow that second tip I had of doing all those question marks and stuff. You're going to be stopping public executions, you're going to be doing all this random stuff, and that means when your inventory is full, simply head back to a settlement, check out these posted projects, and often you're going to be able to complete like 3 or 4 at a time. Seriously, you're going to show up to a settlement, you're going to click some buttons, donate some gear you're going to dismantle anyways, and walk away with 75, 100,000 experience, as well as a bunch of attachments and other rewards. It's that simple. The reason I mention this is that you are not going to be prompted in any way to complete these projects unless you go out of the way to these settlements and check them out for yourselves. Again, often you'll have already done the requirements, you just need to donate some materials and that's it. Huge boon to leveling up, and it provides you with my next tip here: attachments. Get attachments. Now in the Division 2, it's unlike the Division 1, there's no actual lootable attachments. You get an attachment and that is the way it is forever really. So you get an extended mag for 5.56 rounds and that's it. You're not necessarily going to be out there looting a rare extended magazine like in Div 1. And that means if you want to alter and improve your weapons, you're gonna have to get your hands on these attachments. Now, how do you do so? Well, like I've said, projects can sometimes award you with attachments, as can doing side missions, as well as actually leveling up certain perks for your character. They come with attachments. Now, often when you get attachments for doing a side mission, for example, you actually just get the blueprint. You do have to go to the crafting station in the White House and then actually craft that attachment to use it on guns. Now, they're not a one and done thing. If they're on one gun, you can also put them on another gun. You can put the same magazine on every single gun it can apply to. They're not actual lootable objects. They're just things that once you unlock, you can put on whatever, again, they apply to. Now, what are the best attachments to use? Well, frankly, I could make an entire video on this, but I'm gonna try to just give you guys as much helpful information as I can in this video. So to dumb it down a little bit, essentially one of the most useful attachments is a magazine, an extended magazine. If you can get your hands on especially like this 5.56 magazine that gives you an extra 30 rounds and it gives a pretty minor downside, that is really going to help you out. Anything that gives you extra rounds is often going to substantially improve your DPS. But you are often going to play around with critical hit chance and damage, range, headshot damage, as well as stability and accuracy. Stability and accuracy you're often going to play around with. What exactly do those entail? Well, with accuracy, you're talking about essentially the bloom of your weapon. If you shoot, you'll notice that your weapon starts at that fine point, and then it's going to start to shoot around that point. Increasing your accuracy makes it so that you can shoot a tiny little target and it'll always stay there. Now, stability is the drift of your sights. So if you just hold the trigger and, you know, your guy is going to start shooting up and up and up and then he's facing the ceiling almost, that is stability. So if you have really, really good stability, if you put a bunch of attachments on that increase your stability but lower your accuracy, you're going to be able to put your sights right over an enemy, hold the trigger, and your sights are not going to move, but your gun is just going to start to naturally miss and shoot around that target. So if your gun is really kind of all over the place with the sights, increase the stability. If it has pretty good stability but doesn't have great accuracy, increase that. Often with very accurate guns, you can sacrifice stability to increase stuff like critical hit chance, all of that stuff. Make sure that depending on the gun type, you do certain things. Assault rifles don't have great critical hit chances anyways, so sacrificing some critical hit damage or chances to improve the stability and accuracy is very good with that gun type. Stuff like rifles do have good critical hit chances, so they can have a little bit of a lowering of stability and accuracy because they're already accurate and stable, and increase their critical hit damage and chance even more so. So stuff like that. But moving on from there, talking about attachments, did you know that there's actually attachments for both your armor and your skills? These are going to be things that you earn along the way, and they're just going to kind of disappear from your inventory. You can check them out by specifically clicking the attachments section in your inventory, but if you don't really know about this stuff, you're going to ignore them for a good portion of the game. Make sure to go over pieces of armor and actually mod them. Just like you would press the mod button for a gun, you mod your armor and you can put on different things that do things like increase shock duration and so on. They also come with small bonuses to things like skill power and the like. So if you're not doing this, you are missing out on just raw increases to your, skill power, damage output, all of that stuff. Importantly, however, unlike weapons, where you can kit up a weapon with attachments and then dismantle that weapon and you don't lose your attachments, you actually will lose your attachments for armor. They are actual loot. Like an armor attachment is an actual piece of loot, so if you put it on an armor piece and then dismantle that armor piece or sell that armor piece, it's going to sell the mod along with it. So if you want to keep that mod, make sure to unmod it from that armor piece. But like we were saying earlier, also your skills have attachment slots. Make sure to go down to your skills, press that mod button, and you can put on things like, for your turret, increased duration, for your Chem Launcher, increased radius, all of that stuff. And that's something, again, that you're not going to be making the most of unless you know about it. Now, moving on from there, another tip I have is to pay attention to what the armor is adding to your build. Most armor pieces are going to have bonuses that are represented by 3 different symbols. You have the blue symbol to represent essentially health, survivability. You have kind of a battery symbol to represent skill power, and you have a red symbol to represent damage output. So something may come with a red symbol, and then it says plus 3.5% critical hit chance. That's going to improve the amount of red symbols that your overall class has. And you can look off to the left, you see your different symbols are represented and there's a number beside them. So if you have a ton of armor that affects the red symbols, you're always using armor that has increased damage output, increased weapon damage, increased critical hit chance, all that stuff. You're gonna have like 6 or 7 of the red symbol, you may have like 2 of the skill symbol, and you may have like 1 of the blue symbol. Now, this is important because it directly affects weapon and armor perks. As you can see here, you're going to have certain perks that requires you to have a certain number of this stat. So some perks are going to say, increased damage for every 10 rounds missing in the magazine for a certain weapon. Okay, great, but it'll have a requirement that you need 5 of this red offensive combat symbol. So if you have 5, 6, 7, whatever, that should be good and the perk should be active. However, some perks are actually going to say requires 5 or less of that symbol. So if you have 6 of your offensive red stat, it won't work. The perk will be inactive. You want less than that. You could have 1, 2, or 3, and that perk would be active. A lot of other perks require skill power, all of that stuff. So if you get really good guns and they have perks that you want to be activating, make sure you check the requirements of those perks, as armor too, and make sure you have the right setup. And again, reread those perk requirements. Like, it's very easy to skim something over and not realize, oh, I actually need, less than 4 skill power and I'm over 4. That's why this perk isn't active. Next up, very quick tip. If you're annoyed with the inventory system, you can actually change it to a grid loadout by pressing a button. Check that out. So much easier for inventory management.
Come over here.
And moving on from there, my last tip here is to be on the lookout in missions for hidden chest rooms. These are actually all over the place, and they're pretty easy to find if you know what to look for. You're really going to want to keep an eye out for that glowing orange color associated with the division. You'll always see this color when you have a lootable object, and the area around that object will be glowing. And you'll often see areas just like you're seeing in the background gameplay where, there's a chest behind here, but I can't open the door. Now, a lot of people are just going to run right past this. I don't know how to figure this out. I'm going to keep going. But it's pretty simple. There's almost always a little mini game or a tiny bit of a little puzzle associated with these doors to open them almost immediately. With this type of door, all you need to do is look for a yellow kind of box, a yellow fuse box, shoot it, boom, the door opens. And the fuse box is only a few feet away from the door, and you have access to these chests, and hey, I got a high-end item for doing this. It took me a couple seconds. You're often also going to find doors that you can't open, but on the backside, they have padlocks, yellow padlocks. Simply get into a different position so you can see behind the door, and you can often shoot the padlock from one side, go back around and open it from the initial side, and that's going to lead you into a chest room. Sometimes they actually have windows on it, so if you angle yourself just right, you can shoot through the front of the door, like through the window of the door, and hit the back padlock at a weird angle. And so you can actually open up these doors without having to do the puzzle you're supposed to do. Just kind of squeeze in there to the side and shoot that padlock. And so guys, that's it for the video. I hope these tips help you on your journey throughout the Division 2. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, found it informative, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Division 2 content, be sure to let me know. Support the video. If it does well, I will happily make more. I am enjoying myself within this game. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.